To any intelligent being, there is no emotion more important than hope. Collectively or individually, we must hope that our future will be better than our past, that our offspring and theirs will be a bit closer to that idealistic society that we hope for, whatever the perception of that may be. R.A. Salvador. Today, we're going to talk about the information surrounding the topic: should black people in America be receiving reparations? The reparation funding must come from somewhere. We must talk about the sins of American forefathers and how they affect today, and we must talk about the methods in which they receive that reparations and how they could receive the reparations. So, funding. The money would have to come from somewhere. Professor Richard A. Epstein from Stanford University, he's a professor in law, states that this would cause an unfair taxation of white Americans today, and the funding would have to be drawn from the wealthy that have earned their wealth from hard work and labor. However, Thomas McCarthy, a professor at Yale University in philosophy, states that it is unethical to not demand the wealthy to divide up their wealth evenly in order to help people in America who have been disenfranchised, and that we have a moral obligation to provide black people with funding based off of their suffering and their disenfranchisement. The Constitutional Resource Fund states that this funding would not actually be an attack on white America, but would draw funding from everywhere in America, and as everyone in America shares taxes evenly and benefits from the evenly, it would be unfair to not provide black Americans with more resources based off their disenfranchisement. The impact that the forefathers have had on today. So, Senator Mitch McConnell states that since there are no enslaved people alive and no people who have enslaved them alive today, reparations would be pointless and redundant. However, the Black Wealth Gap states that there is 15 to 20% of a black family having the same amount of wealth as a white family. A black family only has 20% of that wealth, stated by the Federal Reserve. Black families' net worth is only 10% that of the average white family, and black families make up less than 1% of the 1% in America, which is a disparity based off of the 13% of population black Americans make up. However, Richard A. Epstein again states that black America would not be free today and the civil rights movement would not have passed without the work of white Americans. So, who will the funding be given to, and the people the funding will be sent to, and the method of reception? Richard A. Epstein again states that anybody could have their origins traced to slavery, and that it would be completely unfair to focus on only modern black Americans. However, the NAARC states that anybody could easily trace their ancestors to slavery, and specifically that these issues impact black Americans today because racism still persists. These reparations could be received in the forms of tuition and foundational payments based off of resources in communities. The NARC doesn't believe that material resources can fix this disparity between the black and white communities in the U.S. However, foundational improvements such as education and recreational environments to prevent crime will help this very, very much. Will help this issue massively. As a final note, experts disagree on the fairness of if reparations should be paid and where they will come from. They cannot be drawn from white America because that would be unfair. However, some experts believe we have a moral obligation to pay these regardless of how much that we have to pay for them. This is not just, experts believe this is not just an attack on white America, and that all of America should have to repair the black community because all of America has to benefit from the effects of slavery. However, Richard A. Epstein states that most of the wealth consumed by produced by slavery was completely consumed by its users, and that very little of it was inherited. There's no current slavery, and there's no enslaved people, or has been people who have enslaved left alive today. So, who would receive the money? People who are not victims, and the money would be taken from people who have not committed a crime. The recipients are debatable from experts, and it is impossible to find. Some experts believe that it is impossible to accurately trace ancestry back to enslaved people. Thank you for your time. I hope this has made you consider whether black people should or should not receive reparations in the United States today.